I had my apple a day to keep the doctor away. I ate my Wheaties. What is this report?
You have whole milk or 2% milk with your Wheaties?
Neither. Almond.
Almond milk? What you talking about?
I don't drink that mess.
I was just saying, maybe that was the wrong part of the formula. Oh, no.
Welcome to the Real Refined Podcast, where faith and the mind meet. I'm your host, Bree. And I'm your host, Tiara. Tap in.
Hello, Real Refined fam. We are back with another one. All right. So we're back with another episode. And today, we're going to talk about control. Control. We were on cue.
And we didn't even plan
We did not plan. Y'all, we didn't plan that. We did not plan that. Okay, so the overall topic today is about control, wanting control, I guess taking control, losing control, all of those good things. I mean, I can't say control is like good. In certain areas, control is good.
Sometimes it is, because some of us are out of control. That's not good either.
And I think when it comes to control, just off the top, because I have a game that I'm going to play.
Okay.
But just off the top, I think control is rooted in fear of failure, fear of the unknown. So because also it's rooted in the fact that if you've been in a situation where you did not have control, so whatever that situation may be, I'm sure y'all know what y'all's own situations are when you were in a situation you didn't have control. Now you feel like in every aspect of my life, I have to have control. Whether it be, I can't sit with my back to the door because I want to see who's coming in.
Yeah.
Or I can't walk outside by myself because something traumatic may have happened. But I just think right off the top, it's just like control. I am operating in control, trying to let go of control. And I think it's like a chain wrapped around my neck right now. I ain't going to hold you. But I ain't going to cry today. We got tissue. And my makeup is cute. But yes, so you've seen on, in viewers, you've seen on TikTok where it's like, put a finger down if so-and-so.
Okay.
You want to play?
Let's go.
Hold on. I got to get it. Hold up. So this one is going to be related to control.
Ooh.
And
this is how we know that we have control issues?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So y'all put y'all's fingers up too. I think I was going to do 10. Okay, put a finger down if you find it difficult to delegate tasks because you believe you can do them better yourself. That's me. Put a finger down if you often feel frustrated when things don't go according to your plans or expectations. Put a finger down if you prefer to work alone because you trust your own judgment more than others. Oh, that's not me. Put a finger down if you have a hard time fully surrendering everything to God because you lack 100% trust. That's me. Put a finger down if you have a hard time letting others take the lead, even in areas where they may be more knowledgeable or experienced. I don't mind people taking over. Put a finger down if you have a tendency to micromanage, even in situations when it's unnecessary, including micromanaging God. I'm almost out of fingers.
Micromanaging. I'm trying to think of a situation, and if I do that.
Your finger like halfway down, you might as well just put it down. It's just like a little bit. Put a finger down if you struggle to relinquish control, even when it's in your best interest to do so. I'm all out of fingers. Last one, put a finger down if you have difficulty trusting others to meet your standards or fulfill their responsibilities without your supervision.
That one should have been first.
So family, did you have any fingers left? There were only 5.
I thought I was going to have fingers left. Dang it.
Well, if you have no fingers left, you're definitely, I wouldn't label them a control freak because I'm not a control freak.
I really thought that I was going to have fingers left and you weren't going to have any. Like, I thought I was going to have way more fingers left up than you. Look at me.
Look at you. Control. So just with those few like statements, what are your initial thoughts? Like you just said, you thought you were going to have some fingers left.
Yeah,
but you don't.
I don't. I'm just like you.
What does that mean?
Issues with control.
So when you think about control, what's your thoughts, T?
I just think that And I'm thinking about this in terms of relationships too, from a conversation that was had earlier, right? So this whole like independent woman thing. I think that when you've been in a situation or a series of situations where you had an expectation of whatever kind and it wasn't met by other people, whether it been an expectation to protect me because I'm a child, so you need to be making sure I'm safe, right? Or just in relationships, in life, just anything at work, whatever. I think that you kind of develop this protection defense mechanism of, well, I can't trust other people to do it, so it's like a PTSD thing. Like, I can't rely on you to get it done, so I'm gonna do it. And of course, you think that this is just how I need to function to get by, but I can see how, like, for somebody else, it's like, oh, well, that person wants to do everything or think they know everything or everything got to be their way. But it really doesn't come from, I'm the boss, I'm in charge, I'm the best at this. It's like, no, I want some help, but I've not been able to find consistent, reliable, conscientious help. So I'm going to just do it myself. That's what I'm thinking about. Like how you get to the point where you have issues with control.
That's what I want to get at. I don't think we're just born with having issues with control, because a lot of the time as you're young, you have to depend on your
You're
parents.
helpless. You literally are an infant.
Literally. Because you didn't pop out learning how to do the things. Like, you just don't come out knowing how to hold your bottle. You're taught. Your parents do it for you for a little bit, and then eventually they put your hands, like with my kids, put their hands on the bottom to show them the motion of, this is how you hold your bottle. This is how you walk. Oh, let's start making talking noises so you can understand how to talk. This is how you read. Let's teach you these things. We don't just automatically come out the womb having issues with control. Yeah. I strongly feel that having issues with control goes back to childhood. And it goes back to situations where you feel like you cannot depend on a parent, a grandparent, somebody, or in early relationships. There was a lack of dependency there. So it's just like, now because I can't depend on you, I'm going to do it myself. Or from trauma. If you were in a traumatic situation, like I said earlier, open up, where you did not have control, then now you're going to operate in a place of wanting to have control, whether in your relationships, your friendships, whatever it is going to manifest into your adulthood.
Yeah.
And I think letting that go, I'm still trying to navigate that, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah.
And I think in one area where I didn't have control, I think there's some healing that has to take place in that area. But in other areas, I'm just like, what was it in my childhood that made me feel like I can't depend on anyone? And I would say, watching my mom, like, be a single mom, you just see her be mom and dad, and you see her do everything. So you kind of feel like, oh, I have to do everything too. So that's something. And then when you don't really have, when you have those father wounds, you feel like, well, your daddy is supposed to be who you can depend on. So if you don't have that, it makes you feel like you just have to figure it out.
Yeah.
Or, I'm trying not to go on because or there's also women who try to fill the void with other things to control, like their emotions, to control not being too overly emotional. It's like when I'm talking about father wounds still. So like that void of not being dependent on anyone. Now they feel like, well, since I can't depend on anybody, I'm independent now. Yeah. And I can get what I want, I can do what I want, be with who I want, and I don't care.
Yeah.
And they'll fill it with drugs, sex, or whatever. It's a space that's missing.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that missing space is, but it's something.
I think that's interesting that you just said that people who have had people not show up or whatever in their life that may have a father wound, that because they didn't have control of that, they kind of get control by turning to the sex, the drugs, the other stuff. And what we see that as is this person is spinning out of control. Like,
yeah, or they're being fast.
Yeah. Like, it looks like a lack of control, but I guess in that person's mind, it's like, no, this is this is something that I know every time I drink, I'm going to have a good time.
Exactly.
Every time I sleep with this person, I'm going to, feel good, or I'm going to feel like I'm close to someone for the moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's crazy. That's really interesting, because I never connected the two of those things. In that person's mind, that is, no, I have control over this. I know what to expect.
Yeah.
I can tell this person leave when I'm done with them. I can stop drinking when I feel like it. Like, I know how to take care of myself when I get my hangover or whatever. Like, I'm good. I've got this under control. But in fact, you don't.
Isn't that crazy?
Even a lot of us who have trauma, we use our work to kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like, get control in another area of our life. And
Yep.
we use our work, and it looks good on the outside, because it's like, oh, this person is being productive and they're successful. But the reality is, you're not successful, you're not productive, because you're not doing that from a place of liberation. You're doing that from a place of, I don't have anything that I feel like is stable, so I'm gonna pour all of myself into this place over here, so I don't think about the fact that I'm 40 years old and I'm not married yet, or I don't have a kid yet, or, do you know what I'm saying? Like, any of these other things that happen, I'm really pouring myself in over here, because I feel like in my mind, this is all I've got. That's good.
It's a replacement type theory where if I don't have this, I'm gonna replace it with this. I'm gonna more so fill it with this. And I think that's when I think about it that way, it's just like I really have to get to the root of why. In a lot of the cases, when you are self-aware, you know why, but some people don't want to face the why.
That's what I was thinking. I don't think that most people, that it's lost upon them where my issue comes from. I think most people just don't want to deal with it because they think it's really ugly. They feel like it's going to take them down a dark path that they're not going to know how to navigate themselves out of. I think most of us know exactly what the trauma is that is driving our behavior. And I think that it is tough. It's tough to peel back those layers because sometimes there is a lot under that. I know someone that I love very much had something traumatic happen to them, and they will not talk about it. They'll maybe start it, but they never finish. And I remember one day this person said to me, sometimes you just have to bury things and act like it never happened. And it was a really interesting thing because, and again, this person probably doesn't see it or realize it, but that thing that they think they've buried, it really does show up a lot in their life and the way that they interact with people that are close to them. But they think, no, I'm burying it because I can't deal with this. And sometimes you just have to forget that things ever happened. That was something else. Sometimes you just have to forget that stuff happened. And I think that the fact that you know what that thing is, you know the thing that you have to deal with, but why are we so afraid? Because the thing is, you're already struggling with it being hidden, pretending like it didn't happen. You see that it's showing up in certain ways in your life. So how much worse can it get to actually say, and again, I know for the person who's not ready to go there, it feels overwhelming, but this is a provocative question. How much worse can it get for you to actually say, you know what? Let's deal with this now. Because you think you buried it, but it's burying you. It's really not buried.
I feel like you're trying to make me cry. I'm gonna look away into the light.
I'll give you a second.
I'm not talking to you anymore.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm not sorry. I love you. It's okay.
I love you more. So we got tissue. Okay, speaking from a person who has thought that way, exactly what you said, like just pretending that it never happened or whatever traumatic experience you had never happened. I think I operated like that for a long, long time. And I remember telling you, like, I'm just having dreams, and it's like, you don't have to deal with it. It was to the point where at one point I did forget. I suppressed it so good that I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that this was ever a thing. Am I tripping? Did this actually happen? Oh no, I know it happened. I don't want to remember that it happened to me, right? And to your point, we can bury it, but like you said, it does begin to bury you. I'm not vocal about past childhood wounds on purpose, unless it's with someone that I really, really trust, right?
Right.
Because for years I'm just like, no, I'm just gonna pretend that this was never a thing. I'm gonna pretend like this never happened to me, or even thinking about in high school, I'm gonna pretend like this is something that never occurred. Because if you say it now, it's like, oh, it was years. I'm in my 30s. It's years later. What would be the point? But that stuff comes back anyway because you have to deal with it. What I'm finding is that if we're wanting to be all that God is calling us to be, there's just some things that we have to deal with. Otherwise, it's going to keep resurfacing and we won't be able to even hear from him, talk to him, trust him. Like, there's going to be a lot of things where it's just like, at one point, I'm just like, God, how could you let that happen? But then it was just,
and not even
not
just your
it.
relationship with him, because he's good. Like, he's not, everything is all about his glory, but he also knows that, like, yeah, it's hindering your relationship with me, but it's also hindering you in other areas of your life. You may not realize it. You just like, oh no, this is just how I think, this is how I do things, this is how I work, this is how I parent, this is how I show up as a spouse. And the whole time, it's not. I remember another person that I love very much had dealt with addiction for a lot of years, a long time. And my first time being around them after they got clean and went through treatment and everything, they said, you've never met me before, because since I was a certain age, I was always using.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with our trauma and the things that we use. In that case, that person's case, it was drugs. But for any of us, that thing that you use to cover it up, because what you really want is to not have to deal with the feelings that are associated with what happened. And I say this as somebody, like, I'm not being a psychologist, like somebody who's walked through this and is continuing to walk through it. Mm-hmm. We don't want to feel the feelings that are associated with it, whether it be shame, whether it be feeling weak or passive, like, why didn't I stand up for myself? Why didn't I do something? Why didn't I do something different? You know, you don't want to feel that. And then you kind of start to use these things that make you feel better. When I start thinking about, I'm just going to do this. Mm-hmm. And you kind of overcompensate in other areas, and you start to say, well, that's just my management style. When you talked about micromanagement, well, that's just my management style. That's how I lead my teams. That's how I'm just an overprotective parent. That's just how and the whole time, that's not really who you are. That's who you've adjusted to because of what happened to you. Yeah. And we serve a father, and we have a father that he's concerned with that, because it's not freedom if you're covering up. You're not free if you're covering up and if you're trying to hide things. And it's a process. It's not just like a stand up and just set your mind to it and I'm going to do it tomorrow. It's okay, you went through one level of healing and now we got to go through another one 2 years later because something else is coming up. It's a process and it's hard.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
I think the with control in the workplace. I remember 2022, we were in like an acquisition and a divestiture and a whole bunch of other stuff at the same time. And I remember during that time, I was depressed. I was very like unhappy, not with like my life, but overall, I was depressed. And I remember like staying to work super late and not delegating. And on the outside, my team was just like, oh my goodness, Brianna is just, you pretty much did this project yourself. Meanwhile, I was dying. I was tired. I would come into the office super early, go ahead and get the project thing started, be there a little bit later. Sometimes ask my husband, can you come up here and help me with so-and-so? I like buried myself. That's what I feel like I had control over, because at the time, I was controlling the emotions behind depression, but I just replaced it with, I'm just going to work and work and work and work and work.
Yeah.
I'm going to bury myself because this is what I can control right now. This is what I can make a project schedule, ABC, whatever. And that is where I find the comfort, and I'm able to just feel like, okay, I'm not losing control. I am in control, but underneath it was a lot of stress. I would never forget missing my daughters, my daughter and my son's sneak peek. I had a panic attack in the car. And I was just like,
What's a sneak peek? I'm sorry.
school.
Okay.
For school. So they have like a time in school where you go and you meet your teacher, right before school starts. And I never missed those. I'm like always there, but it was in the middle of the project. And we ended up having a call like after 5 o'clock. And I'm just like, I'm even at the school. And I'm like, okay, once I get here, I'm just gonna get off the call. And we're still going. They're still asking questions. There was just I had no workplace boundaries at all. And I remember like, after I got off the call, I called my mom. You ever call somebody and you're like crying and they're like, hey, just breathe. And I'm like,
They pick up the phone and you just,
yes, my life is over.
they're like, what's wrong?
I just called her and I'm just bawling. She's like, breathe. And I'm just, she was like, breathe. What is going on? And I'm trying, I'm trying to talk to her like while I'm crying. And I recall that. And I'm just like, that's why in 2023, my workplace boundaries were locked and loaded. When it was time to go, it was time to go. I was making sure I showed up for my children. I still had control, and I didn't experience depression as nearly as much last year as I did in 2022. But the point I'm making is that eventually we get to a place where we have to let go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, eventually you have to just relinquish the control and just say, you can't control everything. And then thinking about controlling people, we want to control others, and we'll do manipulative things to have them conform to what it is that we want, or being passive aggressive or whatever. Eventually, you're going to have to let that go. Yep. And just straight up communicate with your partner like, hey, I need X, Y, and Z, as opposed to walking around the house thumping your feet, thinking they're going to get the hint.
Yeah.
Or blocking their number or whatever.
All them little things.
Just all the little stuff. But I think there's something about being in adulthood that makes it to where we don't communicate. It seems like
You just want
we
people
want to
pick up
be
what you put
mature.
down.
We want to say that we're mature, but maturity is having hard conversations.
Yeah.
Maturity is realizing sometimes you're the problem. It's not about just being a OG at 25. Like, it's just not the age.
Yeah.
And I think communication is the issue. But anyway,
No, that's
I'm gonna pass
good.
the mic.
I think also recognizing that, like, just because you do all the things, this was something that my dad told me that I thought, I'm not gonna say it was profound. It just really like irritated me because it was the truth. I was not ready for it. It was a truth that I was not ready to take, but I had to chew on it a little bit.
I thought you were gonna say that it was just so
No,
amazing.
it was profound, but I'm being honest about how initially when he said this to me, it was like,
who are you talking to?
yeah. I was, But, some truths, it takes you a second to chew on it. But he told me, he was like, you can do all the things right. You can abstain until you're married. You can, work on yourself, do your therapy, all of this stuff. So it doesn't mean that you won't get a divorce. It doesn't mean that you won't have certain issues that come up in your marriage. Same thing with health. You think about people that are gym freaks or health freaks. You can eat everything right. You could still, and of course, we don't speak word curses around here, but there are people that have still experienced illness, and they're some of the healthiest people that anybody knows. There are some people that have done all the right things. They waited until they got married. They went to therapy. They worked on themselves. They established themselves professionally before they started. And sometimes things still don't work out. And I remember when he said that, I was just like, initially it was just like, no, you're just being negative. But like, life is unpredictable. And just because you do all the things does not mean that everything is going to go your way. There is no formula. There's no this step, this step, this step, this step. That is not how life works. Now, granted, there are consequences of doing the right thing, because we should do the right thing, just like there are consequences of doing the wrong thing. But taking all of the steps does not guarantee, oh, I'm going to not have any issues with this. Just like going to college and getting that bachelor's degree, then going back and getting that master's degree.
Because what a job at? Hand it here. I went through all of this, and you mean to tell me?
Here. Where is the salary y'all told me that I was going to have in this program? You
or even getting out the Army.
Because y'all going to have it easy. Y'all got Army, military experience. It's going to be easy for y'all. They still want a degree. Mm-hmm. Right? So, and I think that's where going back to control, I think that's where some of the frustration can come from, because you think, I did the right thing. I did what I was supposed to do. I had my apple a day to keep the doctor away. I ate my Wheaties. What is this report?
You have whole milk or 2% milk with your Wheaties?
Neither. Almond.
Almond milk? What you talking about?
I don't drink that mess.
I was just saying, maybe that was the wrong part of the formula. Oh, no.
But yeah, like, I did all the right things. Like, I got my career together. I met my husband. I went to college. I got married. I did this. I waited, blah, blah, blah. And I'm still having issues in my marriage, or I'm still having issues with my children. I read this children's book, and I'm parenting them by the book, and I'm not spanking them every time I get frustrated, like I'm doing all that, and they still acting crazy. That frustration is like, no, I did 1 + 1. Where's the 2? Where did this 4 come from? Some of that is in recognizing that I'm still not in control of the outcome, even if I do
everything right.
You know what? I think it's about expectations.
That's frustrating too. Because when I finished school, I was like, oh yeah, I'm about to walk into this job. It's going to be X, Y, and Z. Things are going to go like this. I'm going to buy my little car. I'm going to have my little fancy life. And the time went, and the time went, and the time went. And I'm like, wait a minute, God, remember me. But that was an opportunity to test my faith. And I may have failed about 17 times of that.
It's okay. You fell down, but you got up.
Because something in us wants to, no. I want this outcome, so I did X and Y. So why this ain't Z over here?
It's expectations.
Yeah, like, and wanting to control the narrative.
Yeah.
We don't have control. As much as we like to believe that we have control, even over your children. You can raise them, you can threaten them, you can spank them, you can put them on punishment, you can take away their things. They can still make a choice whether or not the consequences are worth doing what they want to do anyway.
I'm learning that. But also, because we were teenagers, it just kind of,
yeah.
You would think that we would know better.
Jesus.
You would think we would know a little bit better because we were also teenagers too.
No, because we was too busy having fun while our parents were stressed out. Now it's going to be our turn.
I don't know. I'm still stuck on the word expectations because I think that's another route to control.
Yeah.
And you just laid it out so beautifully that after you get your degree, after you finish serving in the military, after you have children, like in our mind, it's expectation versus reality. The reality is I've never been a parent of an 11-year-old before. I don't even know what I'm doing, but I'm going to go with it. And sometimes these books may not be what I'm supposed to do. The expectation is that it's going to be exactly how the book says.
Yeah.
The reality is it ain't that. Now, am I going to hold on to this expectation and put myself in a hole and be depressed and be frustrated and be angry? Or I'm going to just go with the reality of it and just adjust it to the fact that this is what I have. Yeah. And I can just be thankful for this, the reality. And I think sometimes we just get so caught up in the expectations of ourselves, in the expectations of others, the expectations of our children, our spouses, that we're not just slowing down to just look at the bigger picture and just say, this is what I have. And when it comes to people, in our expectations for people, did we communicate that? Did we tell them what we expected of them?
And are our expectations to control them?
Exactly. Or
is that what your real agenda is? Yeah.
And I think that's another root of control issues. We just have this picket fence life. It's drawn out. It's perfect. This is what we want it to be. All the bills are paid. Like everything is just lined up. And when it's not, we're like, well, since it's not that, I have to do everything in my power to get that. And then it consumes us.
Yeah.
We become consumed, and our identity is rooted in work, us being a spouse, being a mom, and there's nothing else outside of that. Because you want so bad to control everything around you.
Yeah.
And
the proper response when you feel overwhelmed with all of that is not to hunker down and try to make everything fit to your solution. The proper response in those instances is, God, if I'm not in control, you still are. So what you need me to do, where you need me to be. It's just realizing that, and I think that was one of the main realizations that I had after finishing school and having such a long break between finding work, is I'm really not in control. So, well, what do you want me to do? Since this isn't working out, like, is there somewhere else that my attention needs to be? It really does, because the overwhelm that comes with that, it's enough to take a pause and just be like, wait a minute, what is happening? Like, what's going on right here? Why is all of this going on at one time? Why do I feel so overwhelmed trying to put all of the pieces together? And it's those moments to stop and say, wait a minute, I'm not God. If it's out of my control, it's still in His. So I need to take a step back in trying to figure out solutions and just stop and just acknowledge His presence, acknowledge His sovereignty over this situation and everything else. Because, and I'm saying that, but like when you are in the middle of overwhelm, it's very difficult to not want to put your hands on everything. But that's the time. The way you feel in your body, I get this feeling like my head's about to explode.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like trying to think about 10,000. Those are the exact moments to take a step back and say, okay, God, what's going on? Where does my attention, am I putting my attention, am I trying to cause something to happen that you want to have ownership of? Have I picked up something that don't belong to me? Even with my children, even with my puppy. I had them, but they belong to you. This project I'm working on, it belongs to you, the smart one. How do I do this? That's one of the things I did when I was in school. Couldn't figure out the statistics. I was like, my brain just don't work this way. This is insane. I thought I was smart.
You were smart.
And I was so overwhelmed trying to figure out all of these solutions. And it's not to say that I didn't continue to try to find the solutions, but when I stopped and I said, wait a minute, God, you created math, science, you know all of this stuff. This isn't hard for you. So if you created it, help me to understand it. I have access to you. And then those efforts of trying to find something after stopping and acknowledging His sovereignty, and I think that's what it's mostly about. God intends to solve and come through. But I think for us mentally, the overwhelm that we feel that makes us want to take control of stuff, if we stop and acknowledge, you're in control. So it's okay if I'm not in control, because you're still in control.
How? How do you do exactly what you just said?
Exactly how I just said. Wait a minute, I don't understand this. I'm trying to fit all of these things. Just taking your hand, let me step away from this. Let me step away from my desk. I've done that. I'm finna go on a walk around this beautiful little waterfall fountain y'all got over here. I'm finna go take a walk and just breathe and recognize I'm not in control right now because I've got too much going on in my head. Like, everything I'm trying to do is not working. But God, you are still in control. You don't have to take a walk to get your mind off of what you're doing. So just help me to be centered on knowing who you are and remembering. I can't remember the scripture that I was reading, but just talking about all of the things that He created, how He has a covenant with day and night. That's why the sun comes up, rises and sets at the time, because he has covenant with them, because he's in charge of it. He told everything, creation, what to do. If you have control over that, you have control over this project I'm trying to finish. You have control over me, my marriage, my children, all of that you're good with. Help me to be still, and what the scriptures say, and know you are God. Because the whole nature of trying to control is trying to be God. Even in relationships, like, if I'm trying to make you do it, I want to be God. I want to be the one that says you have to do this and you do what I say. But just be still and know. That seems like a simple thing to gloss over. That's a big statement. Be still and know. I need to meditate on. I really need to think about that you are God. And from there, that peace that, like, you know what? I don't have to be stressed out about how all of this is going to fall into place. It's going to fall into place. It's going to happen. God, what part do you want me to play in how this works out? And then I can just play my part, and I can let you play your part. And then I can go and I can put my hands to it again. And if I start to feel overwhelmed again, I'm going to do the same thing. Now, there'd be some tears in there, because I was definitely crying a lot. But ultimately, it was, I don't know how to do this. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't.
Help me, please.
Help me, please. Help me.
Where is that from?
From the Wayans Brothers show. He fell off the side of the building. He was like, help me.
I don't think I saw the episode. That's a good one. I'm going to watch that. I'm going to have to.
Bro. But yeah, like,
I get what you said.
Be still and know that he's God. Like, give it back. This is stressful for me. It's not too much weight for you to carry, but it's too much weight for me to carry. So back to him you go. Even with relationships, like, I've been frustrated with friends. I've been frustrated with romantic partners. Just like, okay, why he ain't doing this? Like, I done asked for the same thing for 6 months, and he's still not getting it.
You get real riled up, huh?
Bro, I don't control him. You want to control him. If you've asked and he ain't doing it,
maybe he don't know
can
how.
you live with him not doing it and wait on him to get it together, or no? Because you can't make nobody do nothing. Because I'm not God.
Exactly.
That's what helps control issues, is just stopping. And I'm not God. I can't make anything do what I want it to do. Because if it fell together for me, it's probably going to ruin somebody else's life anyway, because I'm so selfish and self-centered as a person. I'm not looking at the bigger picture. Anyway, I'm thinking about what's going to work best for me. Not even the person who I'm asking to do this.
That's really good.
I'm not God.
Back when Clubhouse was like a thing, I used to do devotionals on there.
I remember.
One of the guys in the group said, his name is Nick. Dang, what's your last name? Shout out to you, Nick. I don't know your last name, though, but shout out to you. He said, you can't control the people around you, but you can control the people around you. And I was just like, yeah, you're right.
Like that.
Because I cannot actually manipulate you and control you. I can't. That's true. But I can control the people around me in a lot of ways. So, like the communication. If this person can't communicate and don't know how to, it's not up to me to make you communicate. I can communicate my expectations and my concerns to you. But now it's up to me to decide, can you still be allowed in my space? That's me controlling the people around me.
Yep.
That's me having better boundaries. That's me making sure my expectations are clear and realistic. And if you can't meet them, what do? I'm still not going to try to control you. But to some extent, I'm going to control this situation. And I think going back to when you're saying people are wanting to be God, I don't think that they want to be God. I think that they just want to feel comfort and knowing that they can control the situation. And I think, and that could be wanting to be God, but I think people, it's really hard for them to be okay with not controlling everything because there's still some healing that has to be done.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking from a person who operates in control because I know that I don't want to be God and I'm not him. I just know that there's some sense of comfort and ease when I know that A, B, C, okay, boom. That's correct. That's it. Okay, oh my goodness, where did Z come from? Because there's a whole bunch of more alphabet left. How did you get here? And why are you not in the right place? Where's the rest of the alphabet? So it's not me wanting to control that brings a sense of comfort and peace knowing that, okay, I can't control it, but that means I have healing to do. Or anybody, if any of y'all out there are in a place where you have to control everything, going back to the root. Thankfully, I'm more aware that, okay, Bree, you do have some issues with control. What are you going to do about it? Okay, well, I'm going to make sure I have a solid support system where I can say, look, I'm having a hard time. Can you help me? And then they're going to give you sound counsel. Praying about it. Just withdrawing and just spending that time alone where you're just taking like little steps closer and closer to letting go of control. Because one of the biggest things that I've learned is that releasing control doesn't happen tomorrow. Mm-mm. It is not something that's going to happen as soon as you say, okay, I let it go. Now, I think maybe in some cases it does help people, but I can only speak for me and to say that where I am right now with acknowledging that I have an issue with control and acknowledging that I have to let it go, that's dang near step one. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
That's progress for me. So just knowing that the next step is letting it go little by little and allowing that weight to be let off. Because I feel like just having control, you carry so much weight. You're carrying rocks in your backpack every day.
Yep.
Because you don't want to put the backpack down. Somebody gonna steal my rocks. Nobody wants your rocks. Nobody came to see you, Otis. Like, let it go.
Yeah.
But I'm talking to myself. This is some talk therapy. That eventually I have to make a choice. We have to make a choice. What are you going to choose? You want to carry the backpack with big old boulders? Or are you going to just put the backpack down and start healing? You probably got blisters on your feet. Your back probably hurting. There has to be a moment where you just say, look, I have to let go. Yeah. And letting go is not linear, just like healing isn't. Like, there's steps you have to take. And it's going to be hard. It's not easy. I think that's the hardest thing to do is just to let go.
Oh, yeah. And it's interesting that when you're trying to make something work, you have your fists closed and you're hanging on, just hanging on.
Bleeding.
And it's like, no, this has to work and I have to da-da-da-da-da-da. And it gives you so much release and relief to just, and whatever happens, if it leaves my hand and something else comes into my hand, if it stays in my hand, okay. But we want to just, I have this in my hand. If it chooses not to be in my hand and it rolls out, now that's difficult. That's difficult to get to that place. Again, still working on that in different areas. But we think this is faith. No, I know that I can make this work. I know that it can work. It's like, no, that's not faith. Faith is not this. Faith is this. If it works out, if it doesn't work out, if they stay, if they leave, my hands are open to whatever. Whatever happens, I'm cool with. I was just telling my dad the other day that that's what my intention is to work on getting to that place with anything. Even driving, that's one of my biggest tests, driving here. It's like, if somebody chose to cut in front of me, I can't do nothing about that. Because I be talking cash money in my car. You just know, you ever put your little self in front of me with no warning, no blink, don't worry about it. But that is one of the ways that I'm trying to Acknowledge you don't have any control. You can get mad all you want to. You can keep saying, where's your blinker, blah, blah. That's not going to stop the fact that people are going to do it.
They're going to go wherever they're trying to go anyway.
Yeah, they're not thinking about you. They're not thinking about you. And just being able to acknowledge, I could hit this horn all out. They still did what they did. And somebody else is probably going to do it. You going to respond like this every time?
Yeah.
And at first the answer was, yes.
Yeah.
I am. Because why you did that? What's wrong with you? But just like, okay, this person cut me off. We didn't get into an accident. Keep it moving and keep it moving and keep it moving. But the controlling part of me is, well, why you didn't put your blinker on? And why you didn't get a little further ahead of me before you actually got over into that lane? Why you didn't do none of that? But that's how I think they should do it. And I'm not God. That people, we really don't even listen to him.
That's true.
We really just be doing what we want to do out here. So it just is like whoever came up with that snap, it is what it is.
It is
It is what it is.
I definitely held my horn
But
today.
I'm not there yet either. I'm still talking Cash Money in my car when you cut me off.
Yep.
I'm still probably gonna hit that horn. It just depends on how sudden you cut in front of me. I'm still
drivers
working
will
on
make you
that.
do that. I feel like it's a Houston
Man,
driver
what?
thing. Because y'all can't drive.
And then you be looking stupid when you get in a car accident. I don't be feeling bad for you on the side of the road. I'm sorry. I'm just playing. I really be like, God, I'm glad everybody's okay. But if I see you driving crazy in traffic and then you're on the side of the road,
They had it coming? Oh, what?
they had it coming. They had it coming. No theater nerds. Okay, never mind. That's Chicago.
Oh. Now I feel like I got to watch that too.
You should.
Yeah, I definitely held my horn today. And you want to know what's crazy? That person cut me off.
Here's the part. Go ahead.
And I bought my horn. And I ended up cutting somebody else off because they were moving too slow. Listen, this is what happened. I don't know what. There's something about the drivers out here that just make me want to cuss in the car the whole way that I'm driving here.
This is true.
Because what is wrong with you?
I be calling people names.
Don't
I
get in
even know
front
what
of
you look
me
like.
and go super slow. So I move. And then this other car comes and cuts me off. I beat my horn. Now that I think about it, it did nothing. But then there was another instance where the person was like trying to cut, but ain't no room for you, Sally. There's no room. Get back over. So I definitely
You named the driver Sally. You named the car Sally.
Maybe it was the car. Maybe it was the driver.
No, I do that. I call people names in the car too.
I give
I don't
people
even know what you
names.
look like, and I'm just giving you a name.
Get out my way. That's really
Patricia,
that's a pet peeve of mine.
Delvin,
Delvin. Sound like a
get
cringy
out the
name.
way.
Put it
But
in
yeah.
reverse, Terry.
We can't control people. We can't control nobody. Okay.
Even in the car on the highway.
Especially in the car on the highway. We have so little control. And that's the thing. I feel
That's
like we do these
crazy.
little things to try to feel like we have control. And you still don't have
You
no
still
control.
don't.
It just so happens that things fell into place that time.
I think we have to control what we can. My husband just told me that last night
Yeah.
when
The
I
things
explained
that
to
are
him
in
what
your
my week
control.
was. I talked to him about my week, and I was sad this week. And I gave him the whole spiel. Can I do
I
with
love
you?
that for y'all.
He was like, you can only control what you can, babe. Okay, but
Be dropping
then
wisdom. Bleep the name.
oh yeah, you take that name out.
Dang it. Sorry.
He really do. And I'm just like, yeah. But when you really think about it, we can only control what we can.
Yeah.
Like I can control putting my socks and my shoes on. And you know what's crazy? Some people can't do that. That is like, some people can't see because they're blind. Some people can't walk because they have a disability. And we're just over here complaining. That's wild. That was also a realization. Like I can control putting on my socks and shoes, but some people may not have arms. They can't do that.
Or may be paralyzed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're bedridden. And we spend a lot of time, and I say we because I'm in the we bubble, complaining complaining, and then there's more complaining. And I feel like complaining is just a natural response when things just don't go our way. And even as adults, we can just have some tantrums as if we're two and then expect things to just be handed to us. It doesn't work that way. And what I'm working on doing and encourage y'all to do is when you remove the complaining, as I said before, replace it with gratitude. Yeah. Looking around, just taking a second and just breathing like, wow, I do have this. I may not have this, and that, but I have everything that I need. There's a whole bunch of wants out there. We want a whole bunch of things.
Yep.
But do you have the necessities? Do you have what you need right now? Check, and then check. Thank you, God, because I have exactly what I need.
I have more than what I need.
Exactly. We just get caught up in what we don't have. And I think that's another area that we're trying to control. Back to the control issues. Yeah. We want all these things, especially when we get done with school and whatever else. And the expectation is that we already have them. But can we just pause for a second, just say, wow, look how far I've come. I may not have the job that I want yet, but God, you've gotten me this far. And I think that's just so wild that we just kind of sit and not just take a second to look around. I think a lot of us, too, we're searching for things that make us happy, right? We're searching for things, which is not, I'm kind of going off here, but I want to say it. We're searching for things that make us happy as opposed to things that bring you joy. Joy is internal. Happiness and fear and whatever else, they're fleeting. It doesn't last a long time. You see a lot of relationships fail and friendships fail and whatever else because I'm not happy. But back to control. You're not happy because you're trying to control something and trying to control an outcome. And it's not going the way that you want it to go. Yeah. So now that's why you're unhappy. But if we switch it and bring it back to the internal, just I'm content in all circumstances, no matter what it is.
That's the fruit of the spirit.
That's what I'm going to be. No matter what it is, this is how you get the joy. And I think that it's a mindset shift, it's a perspective change, and it's an intentional look at, wow, I don't have everything that I think I'm supposed to have. This list, this bucket list, this life list that I've created, yeah, I don't have all of that yet. Or maybe I won't have any of those things at all because God has a different plan for me. But I'm going to be thankful right now. Yeah. We complain too much. I'm a part of the we.
No, we both a part of we. So we're not talking at nobody. We talking about us too.
Us.
No, you know what else I'm thinking about when it comes to control? When we have such a strong desire to control other people, it'll lead us into manipulation and essentially manipulation is witchcraft. You are trying to impose your will on somebody else. It's witchcraft. Just that need, like, no, you have, even when we want, like I kind of said before we started taping, like, even if I think what I'm trying to do is the right thing, the fact that I'm trying to impose my will on you, if you're not ready to do the right thing, that's like if somebody is addicted or somebody is, just wilding out and stuff. And not to say that you don't try to get people to do and see like, hey, like you're spinning out of control. It's time for you to bring it in. Or your other friends are in relationships with, their partner or with another friend. And you just see like, this is toxic. Like, why is you still talking to this person, right? And you're trying to let this person see things outside of the situation because, when you're in it, you just don't see it, right? You can tell people, this is how I see it. I'm concerned about you. This is how I feel. I really want better for you. Beyond that, they have to choose. Like, they have to be ready. Even in relationships, if you're asking this person for something, it becomes unfair to set an expectation for someone and you sit back and you allow them to just be who they are, move how they move. If you see that person don't have it to give you or they don't want to give it to you, that means you need to bust a move. Like, you need to bust a move. Like, leave. If that is something that you feel like is draining and I just cannot deal with this, right? I cannot deal with not getting this. Same thing in friendships and stuff. Like, not to say cut people off as soon as they don't meet your expectation, because our expectations need to be nailed to the cross too, because some of us expecting stuff that we not even that. So we not being ridiculous, right?
I be cutting people off
We're not being ridiculous,
and
right?
throwing them in the trash.
But I'm just saying, like, if I see something that my friend or somebody I love is dealing with, and I'm like, this is not a healthy situation. If I'm turned vegan and I'm trying to get everybody around me to turn vegan, like, if they don't want to be healthy, if they don't see anything wrong with being in an abusive relationship at some point, and I say this just because I've carried so much stress and frustration in some of my relationships and friendships because I, quote unquote, I want what's best for you. I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to, like, come on, what you doing? But it's causing stress, and that person is continuing on. When they're ready, they'll do what they need to do, or they'll come and say, like, man, I really want to get out of this. I really want to do something different. What was that stuff that you was drinking that time? What was that stuff you was? And unfortunately, not unfortunately, it just is what it is. Like, we all get to different places at different times. And I think we've kind of touched on this before with, like, friendships and boundaries and stuff like that. Just because I'm in a growth season, or I'm drawing near to God in this season, or I'm getting super healthy, or I'm getting back in the gym in this season, everybody not ready to do that right now. And there are seasons as you transition, and God is the person who will let you know, and you'll be able to see and feel tension in different areas. There are times when this person's time is just up in my life. But there are other times where I'm just trying to make you do how I she's over here going like this. I'm trying to make you think and see things the way that I do, and you're not there yet. Now, if you're not being there yet is in some way imposing on my growth or hindering me, that's different. But sometimes I think I'm choosing to focus on it because I know I'm doing X, Y, and Z. And what you're doing really isn't affecting me. I'm letting it affect me because I keep focusing on it because I want you to do what I'm doing. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Like, I want you to do what I'm doing, so it's really bothering me because I'm worried about what you're doing instead of just doing what I'm doing. And if you're not bothering me, I think that a little bit of that too. And I'm saying that for me, like, that's control too. It actually becomes unfair to the other person. Maybe they're gonna grow. Maybe as they watch you blossom, something will spark in them and they'll eventually get there, or they'll start moving in that direction. But it's almost like when you plant a seed and you say, like, hey, let's just say with going to church. I know that's a big thing for a lot of people. I'm going to church now. When I met my partner, we both weren't going to church. Now I'm starting to go to church and build this relationship with God. I can invite my partner to church, or my sister, or whoever, in your life. I can share with them, like, man, the sermon was really good today. I'll send it to you so you can listen to it if you decide to listen to it. But if I'm, like, guilt tripping you and going back and why? I mean, what do you believe? You can uproot that seed that you planted just by saying, oh, hey, here, because you're trying to force that person to come where you are, and they're not there yet. Like, they're not there. And the seed that you could have planted, now you've uprooted it because now you're trying to pressure. And it's nothing worse to me, no worse feeling than feeling pressure. I've been in relationship where I feel like every step of the relationship, it was just like pressure. Like, you have to. Now, it's the difference in saying, like, this is what I'm doing. Like, if you don't want to, that's fine. But this is what I'm trying to do. You give people a choice. But there's no worse feeling than, like, well, I mean, why you don't want to, what's the problem? Why you can't just, how do you expect people to respond to that? How would you respond to that if it was something that you truly were not ready for and you truly are just not there? and somebody coming behind you, well, what's the problem?
You're the problem.
Right. Like, leave me alone.
Get off my back.
Yeah.
But I just had that conversation with my best friend earlier. We were talking.
Oh.
And I was telling her that we're talking because I think one of our biggest downfalls was that I was just expecting you to just already be there. And she said, well, I know that you saw the potential in me. I just wasn't ready. And I said, that's what I realized. And I think a lot of the time we can hurt our friends and our partners and whoever else in our lives when we're just trying to force them into something they're not ready for. But when we're only selfishly focusing on ourself and our growth as if nobody else is supposed to go through a season where they're learning how to grow, it becomes an issue. We can push them away. We can make them feel like we're not there for them. And when me and her finally had like a talk, that was one of the things. Like, I know that you're growing, Bree, but I was not ready yet. I'm still going through a process. And the pride in me is just hurry up.
That's really how I be feeling. Like,
well, you need to come on because I'm already
this
here.
train is leaving the station. Who do we think we are?
Prideful.
Girl.
Like, what makes us think that we're on that much of a pedestal, that we're that much better than somebody, that they just can't go through a process as if we didn't get the chance to go through it.
Because truth
and
be
we
told,
didn't have
it's
the
grace of God. Yes.
I mean, and we have the nerve not to give the same grace and compassion to others, but we're praying and begging for it. Yo, that's wild.
That's crazy.
That's control.
And we be serious.
No, for real.
We be dead serious.
Me and her didn't talk for a little bit. And I'm like, I'm good. I'm done. Because I be knowing how to throw people in the trash.
I'm really bad about that too, honestly.
I'm working on it.
Me too. I think I've done a lot better.
It's gotten better because now I have a better understanding of what boundaries are. Yeah. And because boundaries are built to protect you, it's not a conversation about boundaries, but because they're built to protect you, they're not about controlling or manipulating others. So now that I have a better understanding of my boundaries and I'm more self-aware, I need to allow people to go through what their processes are. Yeah. And that doesn't mean that I have to force you into my process or vice versa, because we all had to be through a process. We had to go through it. And that doesn't mean everyone else is going to. I love that you said that, because me and her just talked about that today.
That's crazy.
Just as a reflection, like, man, we came such a long way and what we were intentional about wanting to do this year. And I'm like, man, it's interesting that that's one of the things I learned last year was just like, Bree, you really have to stop. Because it made me so angry, like wanting people to just already be there. Yeah. Because you see the potential in them, or even expectations in family. Like, I know that you can be this great dad, this great this, and I just want you to be that. But I can't make you do it. I can't manipulate you into it. I can't. I let go. So this was long.
No, that's good.
Whew,
that's good.
I feel better.
As I stop worrying. Yeah.
What do you have in closing? For someone, what advice would you have for someone who is operating and being a quote unquote, quote, control freak? What do you leave them with?
I let go and I let. You know, just be still. You don't have the control you think you have anyway. You really don't. You think you control stuff, you're really not. Let God be God, and there's no way that you can be a controlling person and not also be a stressed person. Ooh. Because if you're trying to control, you're definitely probably have your hands on or carrying things that God did not assign you to carry. So you're going to have some stress that you don't have the grace to carry, right? If he didn't give it to you, that means you don't have the grace to carry it. So you're going to feel like you're carrying something. So be still and know who God is. And it's not you and it's not me. We're not God. And be willing to loosen your grip. Like, open your hands. Open your hands, and however it happens, your life is going to go on. Other people's lives are going to go on. Things are going to be okay if they don't go the way you want them to go. That's what I had to realize. If things don't work out the way I want them to work out, it's still going to be okay. When I wasn't working, My bills were still paid. I was not in danger of being homeless. God still took care of me, even though it didn't play out the way that I wanted it to, but I was still okay. And it's gonna be okay if things don't go the way that you think they should go. It's gonna be okay.
That was really good. That was actually for me. I received it. Okay. Ooh, what advice would I leave? Because I'm gonna actually leave this advice for myself too. We want to have so much control of what the plan is gonna be. I'm a planner. Because I'm a planner, planning works for trips and planning works for vacations because it makes sense to have a plan. But your day-to-day life, if you're trying to control everything down to someone cutting you off in traffic, like controlling that part leads to stress. Exactly what you said. That's probably the most weight that I've carried by wanting to just have absolute control over everything. Wanting to just have it all figured out already. Like seeing the blueprint in the house already built, like yesterday. And I think a lot of the time we just have to learn to let go. So I encourage those who operate in control to get to the root of why you feel like you need to be controlled. I opened up saying that control is rooted in fear. Did I say that on this episode? We're going to find out. But control is rooted in fear. We're afraid of something. We're afraid that if we let go, something's going to fall apart. We're afraid if we let go, then this won't work out. We're afraid to just give it up and give it all. I know that that's something that I've been fearful of, and I am finally letting it go. It's one of those things. I'm in transition right now, and I'm not checking my phone every 5 minutes like I was a few weeks ago. I'm not worrying myself about what's going to happen next in the transition. Now, yeah, there's some slip-ups here and there. There's days where I'm just have to phone a friend, send a text, and be like, look, I'm really just, I want to scream, cry, and throw up. And I'm not sure if I can do that right now. And friend will be like, yeah, if you need to do that, just do that. Having a solid support system. All of that being said, it's time to let go. It is time to just relinquish the control and let the stress go. All of the rocks in your backpack that you've been carrying around this whole time, it is time to let it go. And it's going to be okay. But get to the root. That's what I want to leave out with. Getting to the root is going to be so important. Don't just put a Band-Aid over it. Don't just say that I'm just going to deal with it another day, put an ice pack on it. It doesn't work like that. Rip the Band-Aid off and really deal with the bleed. Yeah. This has been a really great episode.
Man, I just want to worship God right now.
It was such great talk therapy.
Yeah, but it makes me think about God's sovereignty. Like, he really is in control. So like, if things are not going my way, it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. It's gonna be all right. That's where the faith comes in. I have faith that you already got the stuff figured out. So let me just chill.
Yep. And his plan is better. That's what I'm learning.
His
plan is better.
That he's taken so much more into account than we do. We're only looking at 6 months from now. He is Alpha and Omega. Like, he's factoring in eternity. So if he say you gotta wait 9 months before your next job opportunity comes because I want to teach you patience, I want to teach you to actually stick to your budget, I want to teach you cook at home, I want to get you prepared for this next season so you don't go into the next one like you were in the previous one. If that's what he's decided, then it's okay if it didn't work out my way.
Honestly.
Man, I love that guy.
It's going to work out. And I strongly believe that it's going to work out. So I hope y'all believe that too. It is going to work out for our greater good. Because Jeremiah 29:11 tells me he has a plan for me.
And it is to what? It is to prosper you and not to harm you, to give you a hope and a future. So if you're suffering, you're not done. He has a plan. That means you got to keep going to get to the other part of the plan. And that can I add that? I'm sorry. This is my PSS. God's plan for us is not always gonna make us feel good. So get out of your head that it must not be God if it hurts. Get out of your head that it must be the devil if it hurts. That's not true. A part of God's plan of refining us, we have to go through difficulty. We have to go through times where we feel like we can't figure out what's going on or how all of the pieces are going to get together. Some of the greatest testimonies that I have been in times where I did not have control. I was trying to crunch numbers and figure stuff out, and I had a split second, or usually I have like a day. That's how God deals with me. Usually I have like a day to make a decision. And I'm like, I only got me to think about me and take care of me. So if I do the wrong thing, I'm gonna really be in a bind after making this move, right? And I'll only have like a day to make a decision really quickly. I don't have the time to sit down and map anything out. I just have to say what I heard God say. One time, God didn't even give me a yes or no. He just said, I'm increasing you. I'm like, what does that mean? Are you increasing my bills? Are you what's gonna happen? I need a straight answer on this one. I just listen. And the testimonies that I've had in those times where God is like giving me very little time, where I ain't got time to make a plan, those have been some of my greatest testimonies. My greatest testimonies, because I had to do things out of faith, not what makes sense, not what I think is supposed to look like and how it's supposed to happen, just purely moving in faith. Trust him. Trust him. Just because it does not feel good in the moment, I made a decision out of faith, and I still had my stomach in knots. The whole time I was doing it, I did not have peace about it. And then after, as God's plan was revealed, I was like, oh,
That's what she was talking about.
that's why you had me do that. But it built my faith that my dad, he has me. Like, God has me. It does not have to feel good, and the things you go through, it doesn't have to feel good for it to be God. It's not supposed to always feel good.
It's not sunshine and rainbows every day.
No.
It's not going to be.
No.
But when we grasp that concept of every day is not meant to be sunshine and rainbows, how do we learn if we're not facing trials? How do we grow our faith if we're not facing the trials and tribulations? That's a lesson for me.
Yeah.
But I think we tried to close out like 5 times. Fam, thank y'all so much for rocking with us. We love y'all so, so much.
No, we really do.
We really do.
We really love y'all.
And until next time, because there's plenty more.
Yeah.
Man, 2024 is our year.
It's lit.
It's really lit over here. It's really lit over here.
It's a big party over here.
But yes, thank y'all so much for rocking with us. Until next time. Bye.
Bye.